Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next comment or question comes from Philandria Wox. That's a brilliant name. And this is in response to Roland's Manual's half-complete System-8, not a Surface. A video I did in September 2022. And Philandria writes, "Hi John, thanks for your video, re the System-8 not being a Surface synth. I have been thinking of getting a System-8 myself. And there have been searching the nets for some valuable info re the S8's outer workings, so to speak. It would be good synth for crafting and would suit my experimental bent. Whilst I'm sure the presets are very useful, I like the frequencies sounds and listen to what I come up with. The extra synths that come bundled with it mean I get 3 synths for the price of 1. You do indeed. That's the whole point of the System-8. You get 3, 4, 5 now, I think, synths for the price of 1, but you have to pay for the other ones unless you've got your Roland Cloud subscription, of course. Sounds good to me. Polyphony of 8 notes only. Well, I've only got 8 fingers and 2 thumbs, so 8 notes is probably not a massive one for me. Once it's in mono though, I reckon I'd be happy anyway. I listened to your Noodling S8 video too and watch the other vids in the weeks to come. I like your vids. They're helpful and educational. Keep doing them. Are you a synth repairer as well? Are you a teacher? Best of luck." Very, very interesting. And I do apologise if you can hear rumbling in the background, but one of my housemates is decided to hoover while I'm trying to record. And I'm not stopping. It doesn't detract from what I'm saying. It's just annoying. Anyway, I'll start with the questions. The first one is, I'm a synth enthusiast who loves to impart what knowledge I have on the subject and how to undertake synth-related things. And I'll leave it kind of that. Setting on a synth, how to make it do, or setting up a synth I should say, how to make it do something, and more recently I've brought some synths in as projects which I've kind of filmed for the channel, which is what this thing here is, which is the system, so the JX3P project that is currently on the bench. The limitations with the System-8 is, or one of the limitations is the polyphony, being limited to 8 notes. While you can only physically play, say, 8 notes, with sustain or a door to drive, you could quite easily use more than 8 notes, and that becomes a bit of a problem going forward. However, but as I said in the video, this synth is extremely capable in its own right. It has its own oscillators, it has its own filter system if you're running this thing in System-8 mode, and Jean-Michel Jarre has been using these on his recent tours. So if you go and look at Jean-Michel Jarre's rig, probably the rig that he was using 2 years ago, which was probably the year before this was done, you know, and you looked at how he was generating his sound palette, everything he was doing a hell of a lot of work with the System-8 as it was. So that was great. And finally, thank you very much for the feedback on the channel and encouragement to carry on. It's always welcome to receive feedback. Next one comes from Jakara271. in response to, I have an audio station and this is what I think. A video that was done in April 2022. And Chikara writes, I've got one and the AudioStation Mini that I have has had issues. In fact, looking at the event history was very interesting. Do I recommend it? No. The Muse is pretty good about its end of life, etc, etc. I think the 2020 Audio Girder is where it's at now. I installed Audio Girder on my audio station and then used it as a server, but perhaps it's because I upgraded my memory, but my audio station was never all that reliable. And I look at its event history, I'm not happy, let's put it that way. Now, given the audio station is a very, very expensive bit of kit, I probably wouldn't be as happy anyway. But it's always interesting, again, to hear other people's feedback on some of these instruments or some of these pieces of equipment, like the AudioStation Mini. And the view of this particular user is that it's not that stable. Now, of course, we have to caveat that we don't know what the user is actually doing with the audio station, but we have to assume that it's being used in the vanilla way that C thingy recommend it be used. So what were the main issues, I think is probably where I'm coming from with this. And he hasn't written what the main issues are. Others have contacted me and said the unit did not do what they wanted. In terms of audio guider, I've looked at this and potential for a solution for VST offload. Now what I mean by VST offload is you actually get something else to run the VST, so you don't use it on the same machine that your DAW is running it on. You use another machine, which is the whole concept of what the Muse was all about. The Muse will run the VSTs for you, and it's been set up to run VSTs. And your DAW can effectively just call the sound library as and when needed. But there's this trade-off between running your VSTs with your DAW and the cost of the workstation required to run the landscape you require. If you're doing anything high-end, you are talking about high-end computers. We're not talking about thousands, we're talking many thousands of pounds. And if you're talking a high-end sort of Mac workstation, you could be quite easily talking £20,000. But as a start, to get larger footprint workstations, even the high-end workstations will struggle with Audio Girder effectively placing the Muse concept. Separate VST player, shoulder the load of the DAW, and the DAW does DAW stuff. That's, I think, is probably where we're going with this.